Designated Survivor Episode 14, Commander-in-Chief. Pretty interesting episode. They did some cool stuff with Kirkman, especially with the former president coming to help him. I really like that. Like, he comes in and it's like, he's the cool guy on campus. This is pretty much how they introduce that character. It's like, everybody's like, great to see you, sir. And it's like, it's nice to see you again, Mr. President. He's like, thanks. And he's just like, you know, he's almost like taking control a little bit over Kirkman. It's like, oh, you never had this and never had that. It's like, why don't you go ahead and, you know, make some food and stuff, which I recently found this out. I didn't know this, but anyone who's president has to pay for everything that they get. And I was the first thing I thought when he did, I was like, he's just charging me up like he was at a hotel or something. That was the first thing I thought, like, wow, that's super cheap of me, but I'm also not president. So it was kind of funny, like, he was just like this really cool guy and he's coming in and it's like, you know, I kind of did my good job and everybody loves me. You're almost public enemy #1. You're inexperienced and you took a crappy, you know, got thrown into a crappy situation. But he was cool. Towards the end, you know, he's kind of helping him out and he's like, you know, you took a really bad situation and you're rolling with it at this point. You know, things haven't been perfect, but you're doing what you can, and he's trying to help him out. And then we get to the end and Kirkman asked him to actually join his cabinet as Secretary of State, and he's like, sure. And I thought that was just really cool, like, because pretty sure I don't remember that happening in history that I've heard of, where a former president, or the former president, I would have to assume, you know, comes back after, you know, 2 presidents later, and he comes back and he ends up being Secretary of State. That sort of thing doesn't tend to happen. So I was like, that's just cool in general. And, you know, they're working through, you know, some pretty serious issues as far as international conflicts and war zones and things like that. So, you know, that was just how they kind of introduced his character and what he would end up doing to help Kirkman. Then, of course, the other side of the story is Langdon being in here and them trying to figure out anything and everything they can about this secret organization and what the deal is. And we find out that the whole reason Langdon was involved in this entire situation is because of the woman that was basically threatening the FBI director. I can't think of his name right now. I keep forgetting his name. But we find out that it's the same woman who was posing as Langdon's girlfriend and asking for little things here and there. And then it's like, hey, how about the threat assessment of the building? Which, I love that scene because Wells was like, that didn't make you suspicious? That was like the first thing I thought. Like, what was he thinking? That wasn't weird? Like, let me see how to blow up something. Sure. Like, what was going on in his head? He was just like, I didn't think they'd use it for that. And I was just in the same boat as well. It's like, what was, like, how was that not super, super weird? So I just love that sequence when she said that. I thought that was really funny. But they get a bit closer to the truth, finding out about this woman, and at least learning her name and tying it to this woman that Wells has already seen. So that was pretty good. They, of course, have, you know, kind of somewhat internal conflicts going on. We, of course, have the right-hand man of Kirkman. He's, you know, he was on break, and then he's officially gone by the end of this episode, so I don't really know how that's going to play out for Aaron's character. And of course, he still seems to be important, you know, based on the promo. He's not actually leaving the show this early. He's still involved in some regard, so he leaves from the office, but he still has a very important role. So I'm curious to see how they're going to kind of play around with that idea, and if this secret organization decides to at least try to recruit him, or if they'll just, you know, kind of try to kidnap him and just suck some information out of him through torture and things like that. So I'm curious as to where things are headed for his character now that he's officially decided to leave, which was actually a nice scene because ultimately he did it in order to help the presidency, because he's like, hey, it's perception, and the word kind of got out that he was being investigated regardless of what it was for, and even Kirkman saying, I'll make a statement and kind of clear the air. It was just perception, and my reputation is tarnished at this point, and I don't really want to drag down this cabinet because this is what we have right now. And we'll see what he decides to do with Strickland. I'm really curious how that might play out if he decides to join her. So I'm looking forward to what he'll end up doing there, but obviously he'll still have an important role in this series. And they're getting, you know, it was ultimately they went through a lot of stuff to kind of take like a small step forward as far as the secret organization, but there were, you know, obviously other story elements to kind of fill in the rest of the episode. A lot of the stuff with Langdon was just like, this is how I met her, and ultimately it led to her name. That was like the biggest step that they had. It was like they chose him simply because he was the least qualified, which isn't that big of a shock. It was just like they chose him because he was like the least qualified. So, you know, we didn't get too much out of that. It was still interesting to hear, and of course, him simply being investigated and everyone finding out, well, not everyone, but of course the most important people finding out that he's alive and getting that extra information and having the next step towards what they're going to do to find this secret organization and specifically find this woman now that they have her face as well as her name. So, and I'm sure ultimately I would have to say that that's a fake name. So we'll see if that was truly some sort of epic revelation in this episode. We'll find out in the next one if that just ends up being a fake name, which even then, of course, that's just a way to kind of expand it for like a couple more episodes, and then they'll still find out who the real woman is, even if that's not her actual name. But of course, we know that, you know, at some point they'll end up finding it, whether this is her real name or not, which I would personally just assume it's not, but we'll see how that plays out. Thought this was a good episode. Looking forward to where they take things with Kirkman's relationship with the former president. I just think that's a cool idea, so that's why I'm kind of curious about that. Of course, what Aaron's going to end up doing, what we have going on with this secret organization, of course, is the crux of the series. So, of course, I'm obviously looking forward to that, but there's a lot to look forward to. A lot of things really changed up in this, bringing in a former president, getting rid of your former, you know, your chief of staff. So I really like what they did in this episode as far as just the actual political dynamics. That was actually the biggest part of it, with, you know, Aaron being 1/3 of the story and then the former president coming in as a new cabinet member being another third of the story. Like I said, the organization stuff didn't really have a huge leap in this one, but it was a nice part of the episode. So what they really did was the political stuff, and outside of the crazy suspense, what's going to happen with these characters, new character coming in, character, you know, from episode 1 actually leaving the cabinet and going into a new position within the series, is going to bring some change. So I'm looking forward to that, and don't know how many episodes we got for this season, but I would have to assume we're, you know, getting a little bit closer towards the end. I'm sure we have probably a couple months to go. If they go up to, like, you know, 22 episodes or something like that, so I'm sure we have quite a bit of time. But this is definitely a good episode. I think that there's some good change for it. And then, of course, we can get back to, you know, the overarching story of the secret organization and all that stuff next week. And I think this one was just like, all right, we got the big reveal. We have, you know, Langdon giving us that information, but let's do some good character development and kind of change the pace up a bit and switch things around. So looking forward to the next episode. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts and least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know where you guys think things are headed as far as Aaron's character and who, you know, whether or not he'll join Hook Stratton, if he'll end up maybe being targeted by this secret organization, especially if they happen to have eyes on Langdon, which I doubt, because of course they thought he was dead too, and the one person that did find him, Wells killed that guy, so even the secret organization doesn't know that he's alive yet, so I don't think that'll be an issue, maybe until later on. I'm sure they'll end up finding out, and I don't know if he'll live either through this whole season, but we'll let you know your theories on how Aaron's side of the story might play out throughout the rest of the season. And of course, I just want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.